All right. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to The Sweat. She is Jessie Coffield. I am Emerson Matthew Lotzia Jr., and there's no place we'd rather be than here with you talking sports on a Monday.
So much. And since it's Monday, I'm in the mood for some overreaction.
Oh, cool off, Queen.
Oh, my God. So let's bring in DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich and Matt Jones to talk us off the ledge here.
Hey,
okay.
guys, you there?
I'm there, but I'm not going to be talking off the ledge.
Okay, well, fine. Keep us there.
Keep us on the ledge.
It's about damn time. Let's talk some football. Stephon Diggs leading all fantasy scores on Sunday with 46.5 DK points. His only game with more than 20 points this season.
Impressive.
How much of an overreaction is it to say Diggs is back to being a top 5 wide receiver, Jeffrey?
A top 5 wide receiver. That is definitely an overreaction. Look, that's an interesting.
Yeah, just talk, because I like listening to your voice. Yeah, there we are.
All right, now I can talk. I can see myself. I can see Matt. Everything's good. Look, I mean, Steph Diggs is what he is. He's going to be a boomer bust target all year. It comes down to Minnesota's philosophy on offense. The nice thing about Diggs is that he's still getting the targets, right? I mean, he's only 4 targets behind Adam Thielen on the year. Thielen is out-targeting him in the red zone. So, again, it's not going to be every week with Steph Diggs. It's going to come down to matchups. Last week he had the God's gift to all matchup against that horrible Eagles secondary. Next week he might have to face like Darius Slay and the improved Lions secondary. So I think Steph Diggs is a great player. I think he's stuck in a pedestrian offense or behind a coach who wants to run the ball too much anyways. And I think that for fantasy purposes, it's all going to come down to trying to just time his boomer bust, because I feel like the rest of the season it's going to be boomer bust for Steph Diggs.
Jeff, you get bonus points in my eyes today because of that shirt. Well done. Great wardrobe. Maddie, Steph Diggs, back to being a top 5 wide receiver. Talk to me.
I mean, I don't know what time frame we're referring to where we're calling him a top 5 receiver ever, but
just play along with it.
He's not a top 5 wide receiver, even in like best case scenario. Like, look, he's scored 15 or fewer PPR points in almost 60% of his career games. He's been outside of the top 24, 36 out of his 60. He's going to do this. He's going to have these weeks, but he's definitely not a top 5 wide receiver moving forward. No.
Well, remember, we are overreacting here.
Yeah, we love to do that. The Cowboys lost a tough one yesterday to the Jets, and now Dallas only has the second best odds to win the NFC East behind the Eagles, who they face this Sunday night. Is it an overreaction, or is it justified to say if the Cowboys lose this game, their division title hopes are over, Matt?
It does feel like a more important game than a typical Week 7 game. Like the division is without a 4-win team, so the whole even though the Giants and the Redskins are kind of a dumpster fire, like mathematically they're still, quote unquote in it. Yeah, I mean it's definitely important. This is going to probably play into the end of the year with a tiebreaker, I would imagine, since these teams are so tight. So, yeah, I would say not over, but definitely putting them behind the 8 ball a little bit if they can't figure it out this week.
Jeff, is it justified to say if the Cowboys lose to the Eagles, their division title hopes are over?
No, of course not. I mean, the thing about the NFC East, and Matt alluded to it, it's not a strong division. And I mean, the Eagles haven't looked any better than the Cowboys this year. They look good one week and then they look terrible the next week. So there's nothing to say that if the Cowboys lose next week, the Eagles are just going to fly away with it and everything's going to be fine over there in Philadelphia, because it's not fine. They have no secondary. Obviously, their offense is a little bit hit or miss right now, whether they can run the ball or even move it through the air. I mean, Zach Ertz looks like he's lost a step, and he had already was a guy who wasn't exactly very fast off the ball. So that's not a good thing. I think the main thing for the Cowboys, what is the health of Amari Cooper? Because go check out Dak Prescott's splits. Go check out Ian Harwood's Twitter, our friend Ian Harwood's. His Dak Prescott splits without Amari Cooper are absolutely shocking. If Cooper can't come back, then yeah, I fear that much more than a loss this week for the Cowboys personally.
All righty, Jeffrey, the Chiefs losing 2 in a row now, okay? They're going to face Denver on the road Thursday night. That's in like 3 nights from now. Kansas City opens as a 3.5-point favorite here, but let's overreact. You know they're in danger of losing this game. Go ahead, tell me.
Here's an interesting thing about Kansas City. They're basically one fluke away from losing 3 straight because they really should have lost to Detroit. Like, they should be 3-3 right now, but they have Mahomes. They got that magic behind his quarterback. I want to build up Denver. I mean, Denver's a team who's had some bad luck at times in the season. They should probably be better than 2-4, but like, they've scored 20 or less points in 5 games, and even with their improving defense, that's not enough to get it done for KC. Houston beat KC because Deshaun Watson was able to put up a ton of points. Denver's not going to be able to do that. I do think that with Tyreek Hill back, Travis Kelce now, I think we'll get Travis Kelce going this week. I'm not afraid of Kansas City losing this game, even though I admit they have not been good the last 3 weeks at all.
Matt, are you afraid of Kansas City losing this game against the red-hot Denver Broncos? 2 wins in a row for the guys in the Mile High.
Yeah, I mean, good for them, but I just don't see a situation where they can score enough to keep up, like Jeff was saying. Like, I think it's going to be pretty ugly on Thursday night. So no, I'm not terribly concerned about Denver.
Yeah, line is 3.5. Like, I don't understand it yet. That seems like the biggest overreaction that we've come across yet in this segment. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe we're all dumb money.
Okay, the Rams lost to the 49ers yesterday, falling to 3-3 on the season here. Yet, I mean, they still have the 4th best odds to win the conference. So it's early, but as of right now, they aren't even in a playoff spot. So is it an overreaction to say the Rams shouldn't be in the Super Bowl conversation anymore, Matt?
Yeah, it's a little bit of an overreaction, but I mean, two of the 2 teams ahead of them in their division have 5 wins, so they're already 2 games back as things stand right now, and that's a little concerning going into Week 7. They obviously get a couple cracks at those teams, so hopefully they can figure it out and at least hold a tiebreaker if they do manage to catch up. But they're obviously not the same offense. Like, if you saw a few snaps of that game, you know that it's not quite clicking the way that it has in the past. Since the start of McVay's tenure there, they were 2.5 points per drive, and they're barely over 2.1 at this point. The defense is giving up more points. They're scoring fewer points, and if you follow football, you know that's not a great thing.
Jeff, is it an overreaction to say the Rams shouldn't even be in the Super Bowl conversation?
I actually am going to go along with this one. I don't think this one is an overreaction. Look, nothing LA has done has shown me that they're just going to get this turnaround. And really, the problems are mounting. I mean, Aqib Talib goes on IR today. I mean, their offensive line is not the same as it was last year. It's not terrible, but they certainly got exposed last week, more so than they ever did at any point last year. Jared Goff, as we've seen, when the O-line can't hold up, he's not capable of holding down the team. And then you have Todd Gurley, who was racking up all those yards last year, and now, like, the Rams just can't seem to get anyone going. They can't seem to choose which running back to put out there. They should probably just hand the ball to Darrell Henderson 30 times a game now, but Sean McVay doesn't want to do that. So I don't see the situation getting turned around anytime soon. I don't even know if they're going to have the personnel on defense to turn around. I don't think this is an overreaction at all. I'd be shocked at this point if they made the playoffs, to be honest.
Hey, Jeff, by the way, thank you for joining us on Canadian Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, big day here.
Big day.
That is huge.
Big day.
Yeah.
Do you guys eat?
We discovered Thanksgiving first.
Oh.
I don't know if that's true, but it just comes earlier on the calendar.
Is that I see behind you on your board, it looks like a turkey with a DraftKings crown as a head.
I did spend my morning doing some Canadian Thanksgiving art.
Wow.
That is a turkey. He is saying, gobble, gobble, please don't eat me.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, that's a leaf.
Do you guys?
That is the Canadian flag. Jeff.
Yeah, it's all good.
I thought it was a turkey with a crown.
Because I actually thought it was kind of cool.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right on, dudes. Looking forward to chasing or fading some of the Monday Night Football bets with you guys coming up right after Who'd I Miss On with Adam Levitan.
Hello, I'm Brendan Glasheen, and this is Who'd I Miss On with Adam Levitan. It's a segment we do every Monday during the football season with Levy. We recap who he missed on when it comes to his plays from the NFL Sunday main slate. We'll begin with Cooper Kupp, who led the Rams in targets yet again, but with only 6, his lowest of the season. The 5.7 DraftKings points were also a season low. How concerned are you with Kupp and the Rams attack, and was all of this because of Jared Goff?
Yeah, I mean, I think Cooper Kupp's stats and Jared Goff's stats have been inflated a bit over the previous couple of weeks. They had that wild game against Tampa. They had a wild Thursday night game against the Seahawks, and I should have seen that at 7,100 there was at least some risk of the Rams kind of regressing against this really, really good 49ers defense, especially with Brandon Cooks playing back from the concussions. So Cooper Kupp at 7,100, I think, given the spot, was probably pretty bad.
Rams are at the sinking Falcons next. Let's move on to Preston Williams of the Miami Dolphins. Hard to believe there was reason for optimism in a Fins player, but you liked him against the Redskins at home. It didn't matter. Turns out both of his grabs were connections with Ryan Fitzpatrick and not Josh Rosen. What happened here? And is Brian Flores wrong to keep Rosen as the starter?
Yeah, well, first of all, anytime you play someone on the Dolphins, there's going to be a lot of risk. We know they're in full-blown evaluation mode. Some would call it tanking modes. So, when they have the set of players that they have out there, when they're making decisions that they have out there, it's often surprising. It's often not optimal. So I do think Preston Williams is a pretty good player. They're just such a mess on offense that even in tournaments, I think Preston Williams turned out to be a bit too thin.
All right, one more. I'm sure you are not the only one who faded Stephon Diggs. Just too many question marks lately for the Vikings wide receiver. Well, he decided to go off against the Eagles. Season highs across the board, 46.5 DK points. Does this game now catapult Diggs moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's obviously a breakout spot for Stephon Diggs, and he should have a better attitude. But really, I'm upset with myself for not being on Stephon Diggs here. I did play Kirk Cousins. I did play Adam Thielen. Never really crossed my mind to play Stephon Diggs based on the usage he's had so far. But man, if there was ever a spot to get this squeaky wheel going, it's against this Eagles defense, which is so good against the run and so just incompetent against the pass. So in hindsight, it should have been a play to be on Stephon Diggs.
That's who Adam Levitan missed on in Week 6. You can find his coverage on DK Live, the DK Playbook, and on Twitter at Adam Levitan. We'll catch you next Monday, Levy, to see who you missed on in Week 7.
Here's a little fact for you guys.
Hit me with it.
Across all best-of-7 MLB postseason series, only one team, the 2004 Red Sox, have come back from being down 0-3 to win it all. Now, the other 36 teams have lost the series in question.
So if
All other teams that were down 0-3.
Okay. So if the Cardinals down 0-2 right now against the Nationals and NLCS do not win Game 3, that's in Washington tonight, Jessie. They will be facing those long odds.
Yes, and that's bad, as those odds tell us.
So here to preview this exciting Game 3 is DK Live's Alex Jankowski, a.k.a. Janko, and Ben Zwyman, a.k.a. Ben. Guys, this is MLB Pickoff.
Okay, as we said, the Nationals have been making quick work of the Cardinals so far in this series. They're at minus 136 tonight. Alex, do you like their chances, or would you pick St. Louis at plus 118 to win Game 3?
I'm intrigued by the plus money with St. Louis because of the pitching matchup and who St. Louis has going on the mound. Jack Flaherty, I'd love if he was at home. They weren't able to squeeze him into one of those starts at home, though. He has to go out on the road. This game, I think, is more or less a pick'em, so I would go with the plus money, go with the Cardinals. Obviously, desperation at an all-time high. Their offense has been so bad, though. The only way they win this game, Flaherty has to toss a gem, and they scratch one or two runs across. He's been that good, though, and it could happen, so I'll take the plus money with the Cardinals here.
Ooh, Ben, you want to take the plus money?
Yeah, I do like the Cardinals tonight. In that series in the NLDS against the Braves, they were down 2-1 and came back and won, and that Game 5 was pretty exciting. Flaherty was in that game, obviously a blowout, so didn't really have to do much. But if we're talking narratives, Cardinals pitching coach Greg Maddux today hit not one but 2 hole-in-ones in his round of golf. That's
What?
67 million to 1 odds. So, like, if we're going with narratives, I like that. But, yeah, I mean, Cardinals, desperation spot. Like you said, not many teams have come back down 3-0. So, yeah, I mean, they've been good on the road. In the series earlier in the season against the Nationals, they were 3-1 in Nationals Park. So, yeah, I like the plus odds on the Cardinals as well.
I just want you to know that my cousin was at Army-Navy Country Club today where that allegedly happened, and he said it didn't.
Really? So it's a rumor?
You heard it here first.
Do
For me,
your
this
damn
was
homework.
Hey, this was from Alden Gonzalez of ESPN, so...
Oh,
Yeah.
that guy lies all the
My
time.
cousin tweeted he was there most of the day. It didn't happen. No one holes in one at Arlington, let alone twice.
Fair enough. Greg
Well,
Maddux
maybe
is
it
a pretty
wasn't
good
today.
pitcher,
Maybe
though,
it was like
so.
another day.
The man knows how to hit his
You
spots.
media people. All right, guys. Both games in the series have stayed under the run total so far. Tonight, DK Sportsbook has it at 6.5 runs, okay? Ben, you going with history and taking the under. Facts. Or walking on the wild side with the over.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to lean the over, but it just doesn't seem like the safe play here. We saw it hit the under in the first two games. We have two great pitchers in Jack Flaherty and Steven Strasburg on the mound tonight. Strasburg's been lights out. Flaherty's been lights out. Flaherty was probably the best pitcher in the second half of the regular season. So yeah, I really and like Janko mentioned before, the Cardinals' bats are really cold. So yeah, I think Jack Flaherty comes in pitching hot. He's had a lot of days rest since that NLDS series, so I like him coming into this game. So yeah, if you're leaning anything, I think the under's the safe play.
Alex, you won't go over. Coward.
Well, here's the thing. So it was at 7. It's already gotten bet down to 6.5.
Yep.
It's actually plus money now if you want it at 6.5, if you want the under on 6.5. And it's certainly enticing given the pitching matchup. Obviously, that's why everyone's looking that way. But, you know, we saw it with the Nationals Game 5 against the Dodgers, too. One swing of the bat, the over cashes on a grand slam. Not trying to predict that that's going to be the case here, but you know, that's really how you're going to have to beat either of these pitchers. You're not going to be able to string together multiple hits, multiple big innings. It's going to have to be one or two swings of the bat, maybe with a couple guys on base. So I see the appeal there, but now that it's down to 6.5 with plus money on the under, that's definitely where I'm looking.
All right, a lot of talk about the pitching here. Let's move to the showdown contest on DraftKings. Steven Strasburg will cost you 11.4. Jack Flaherty's at 9.6. I mean, Alex, which one do you like more, or would you find a way to roster both?
Definitely find a way to roster both, but if I'm going to lean one way or the other, I'll go with Flaherty and take the savings. He's facing the tougher matchup, of course, but as Ben alluded to, he was baseball's best pitcher in the second half, and I don't really think it matters much in terms of whether he's at home or at Nationals Park. It's kind of a neutral site in terms of hitter or pitcher's parks. He was the guy that got the Cardinals to this spot. Obviously, this is a must-win game for them as well. He's going to put the team on his back and get the job done. Strasburg, what I will say is, you know, as much as he's throwing that curveball and as bad as the Cardinals have been, I do think he's got the higher upside, but Flaherty's floor is as high as it comes, and his upside's not far behind Strasburg's either.
I mean, Ben, do you agree with Janko here? Like, try to find a way to roster both, but then which do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I like Flaherty, and I think you do need to fit both into your lineup, but I kind of like going a little off the board with the captain spot, so I'm looking actually at a bullpen guy. I think if you get one of them in the captain spot at 4,500, specifically Sean Doolittle of the Nationals and Ryan Helsley of the Cardinals, both those guys have been pitching pretty well in the postseason. Helsley's pitched an inning in each of the first two games and has 2 Ks in each of those appearances, so he may be able to get, and again, the savings there is what's going to be able to help you fit those pitchers into your lineup, both starting pitchers. And then it's tough really to captain one of them and then play the other in the flex spot and then get some of those bats in if you look at the builds. So I think if you go with one of the bullpen arms and then you sort of are able to fit more of those bats in, I think that's sort of the way to go tonight.
Alex, who would you captain?
I'm going with Flaherty. Call it a cop-out if you will, but I just think he's going to have the ability to capitalize on that salary below $10,000. And obviously then I'm not going to lean toward any of the Nationals hitters because I'm so high on Flaherty. You know, I would say, though, you know, there's a couple value bats just hitting at the top of the order in the top 2 spots for the Cardinals, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. I think if you want to go off the board and go with a bat, I would lean that way just to get even more savings so you could fit in both pitchers. But most of my lineups, I would say Flaherty is going to be my captain.
Okay, and Ben already told us what he's doing with his captain. So, Alex, if you're looking for a cheap player, who are you going with? I mean, maybe looking at the bullpen?
I'm still going to stick in the lineup. Look, I like what Ben was saying about Sean Doolittle. Also, he's come in the past 2 games and really helped solidify what's been an awful bullpen in the regular season for the Nationals. He looked pretty solid, but even he gave up a run in his last time out. If you're looking at the bottom of the player pricing for those who are in the lineup, Dexter Fowler stands out just because he is batting leadoff, but he's done nothing with that. I go $1,200 more up to Colton Wong, who not only he hasn't been hitting a lot, but at least when he's on base, he has stolen bases in each of the last 2 games, so it gives you a little bit of upside. He's hitting second as well. It's just hard pressed to go down to either Fowler or Yadier Molina. You'd really just have to play veteran narratives because they really haven't been producing.
Ben, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the bullpen arms. I think that's a decent strategy. And Janko just said maybe if Yadi, a veteran guy, can get one of those big hits, sure. I mean, if it's hard to find value, so I'll throw out Marcell Ozuna, who actually has a decent track record against Steven Strasburg in his career, and there really isn't many BVP standouts in this matchup, mostly because the Nationals haven't seen a lot of Jack Flaherty, which I think plays to Jack Flaherty's strengths. But yeah, I mean, Ozuna's maybe the guy that will go yard and sort of pop, and he's at 8.6 in the flex spot, so that's not too bad. And again, if you go with the bullpen arms, you'll probably be able to fit in Ozuna. So yeah, I think he maybe stands out the most. But yeah, Fowler's probably the guy that a lot of lineups will be on, so maybe he's a little high owned. But yeah, it's sort of a tough slate to crack with not a lot of offense that stands out.
Okay, great work, guys. It was good having you both here in the studio. A Monday Night Football edition of Chase Your Fade is on the way right after the latest from the Panel B podcast. I think more Janko.
The Cardinals trying to avoid a 3-0 hole, sending Jack Flaherty out onto the mound to face, though, Steven Strasburg. Over-under is set at 7. Money line, Cardinals still underdogs, though, plus 118. With Strasburg and the Nationals at home now, after taking 2 at Busch Stadium. They are minus 136. 2 great pitchers. These games have, haven't really blown out. Kind of gone, I guess, how we would expect them to so far. So with how well Flaherty has pitched, is that kind of where we're leaning here?
I mean, you can't put money down on the Cardinals right now. I mean, I think they're batting .38 in this series. It's unbelievable. I like the Cardinals going into the series. And one of those
with Anibal Sanchez, but
right. I like the Cardinals going into the series because they were the underdog. Thought they gave some good value. Nationals bullpen has been an issue. Scherzer has been okay at best, but they just can't hit anything. It's amazing. Anibal Sanchez, that was the matchup you're supposed to take game 1. Maybe take game 2 if you can get Scherzer out early. Strasburg's going to be a problem, but now instead of even having a win in the column, now they got to try to face Strasburg to avoid going 3-0.
Right.
They're in major trouble.
And Scherzer was the opportunity. We talked about how he had been performing recently. That was the guy you needed to try and
especially at home versus on the road.
Sure.
Go ahead.
And sorry, and real quick too. The other thing is that even if you had the lead, started to slip in the later games, you would have Flaherty for the second time in a potential game 7.
Right.
You're probably not going to get that now because if you fall behind here, it's over. Mm-hmm. There's no chance they come back against Corbin or Scherzer or whatnot. So, this is, I hate doing the cliche, this is such a must-win for them because this is their best chance to get back in this series. But against Strasburg, who's been fantastic in the playoffs, I just don't see it happen. I think this is already over for the Cardinals.
This is definitely a must-win for them. I mean, you go down 0-3, we know...
With your best pitcher.
Right, with your ace on the mound as an underdog, that's a comeback that's only happened once. And the money's coming in on the Nets, too. This was plus 110 on Flaherty, and now that's a plus 118, so people are backing Strasburg. Talk about a tough matchup to, now you finally get Flaherty in this series, and he has to go against Strasburg on the road. You had to win one of those home games if you're St. Louis. So I thought that if there was a time to back the Cardinals, it was potentially game 1 as minus 130 favorites, and then maybe look at betting the hotter team overall, who's the Nationals, as underdogs in the series. As kind of an interesting angle. Obviously, that didn't even come close to presenting itself, to presenting a spot to do that.
The
As
Cardinals
promised,
trying to avoid
we're chasing and fading bets for tonight's
3-0
Monday Night
hole,
Football
sending
matchup
Jack Flaherty
between the
out onto
Lions
the
and
mound to
Packers.
face
So, of
those
course, our
Steven
NFL panel is
Strasburg.
back. DraftKings contributors
Over-under is
Jeff
set
Ulrich
at 7.
and Matt Jones.
Money line, Cardinals still underdogs.
Works for
though,
me,
plus
guys. The
118,
Packers,
with
3.5
Strasburg
point
and the
favorites this
Nationals at
evening.
home
Jeff,
now,
saw a lot
after
of
taking
underdogs
two at
win
Busch
yesterday.
Stadium.
Could have happened
They
tonight.
are
Would you
minus-
chase the Lions plus 3.5?
Yeah, this was actually, when I was looking at the bets for the week, this was one of my favorite against the spread. I mean, the Lions are a pretty good away team. They're 5-2 against the spread as away underdogs in the last 7 under Matt Patricia. And I know Green Bay came out and kind of surprised everyone and just took it to Dallas last week. But again, I'm just a little bit I question a little bit how long the Packers offense can hold up without Devontae Adams in the lineup. So those are the two biggest things for me. Also, I really like the matchup. Kerryon Johnson going up against the Green Bay rush defense. I think the Lions are a bit better team than people give them credit for. So I like the Lions tonight at plus 3.5, plus 4, whatever it's at.
Mr. Jones, what would you like to do here?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff. I think this game has a close game written all over it. They're both reasonably slow, and the Packers missing Devontae Adams, like Jeff just said, is definitely a knock against them, being able to just sort of do what they want to do and impose their will and throw the ball a little bit. So I think they're going to both be running a ton, and I think that the Lions could definitely win this game outright.
Point total is set at 46 for this one. Both teams average 24 points per game, which if you do the math, which I can, is 48 combined. So Matt, you chasing the over here?
That was good math.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Give you credit there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not chasing the over. Like I just said, they're two of the slower teams in the league as far as unadjusted pace goes. And, Detroit wants to run and shorten the game. And I don't think that these teams I don't think this is going to turn into a shootout. So slow and close probably means, like a 2017 game or something like that. So I'll be taking the under here.
Jeff, where are you going on this one?
Yeah, I've kind of learned my lesson the last couple Monday nights about taking overs on Monday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
Two teams score 3 points twice in a row now. That aside, though, I do agree with Matt. I mean, I feel like Detroit's going to be able to run the ball. Again, Devontae Adams being out, Aaron Jones should see a lot of carries. I think the under is definitely the play. Obviously, with like Stafford and Rodgers, there's potential for a little bit of a shootout to turn into here. But I think the over is the play in this one. I'm actually surprised that the total got up this high.
All right, Jeff, you can get plus odds here on Matthew Stafford having more passing touchdowns tonight than Aaron Rodgers. Dude has 9 on the year. Rodgers has only 6. So would you chase Stafford to have more this evening? You seemed pretty high on the lines earlier.
I mean, absolutely. Again, it's no Devontae Adams. I mean, there's just no – I mean, Aaron Rodgers basically playing with like a bunch of wide receiver threes right now. And Jimmy Graham, like the shell of Jimmy Graham, right? So he has no one to just necessarily punch it in. You saw the Packers basically rush in all their touchdowns last week. Stafford's got Kenny Golladay. He's still got Marvin Jones there. He's got T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, he could easily just get 2 and beat Rodgers that way. I mean, Rodgers could easily throw for 1 and have Aaron Jones do the rest or something. So, yeah, plus money, give me Stafford in this situation for sure.
Matt, seems like a pretty easy chase here.
Yeah, getting plus like touchdowns are so fluky anyway. But like Jeff was just saying, we know the way that the Packers are most likely to score based on their personnel right now. And that does not necessarily include a ton of passing touchdowns for Rodgers. So yeah, if you're getting plus odds, unless there's like a huge discrepancy in perceived talent or offense on a QB matchup, I'm typically taking that.
All right, Aaron Jones had 4.
What the hell is going on? Like, I'm just too damn distracted right now.
Aaron Jones had 4 touchdowns last week against the Cowboys. He's at plus 1,000 to get 3 or more tonight. Would you chase him making in the end zone 3 times in this one, Matt?
No, absolutely. No, absolutely not. That last week was the first time that he's ever done that. So that's 1 out of 27 active career games, which would mean his fair odds would be 20 plus 2,600. He's only had multiple touchdowns in 3 of his 27 games. So it's I don't know. 3 seems a little much to me. I don't know.
Okay, Jeff. Okay.
I'm not frozen. I was just kidding.
Oh, Jeff!
Wow! The question is so ridiculous. You can't bet on Aaron Jones again to score 3 touchdowns. If you were going to bet on a running back, I'd probably go to Kerryon Johnson to do it. I'm not doing it because I never make these bets, but I would take Kerryon over Aaron Jones if we're just, doing a little head-to-head here. I would take Kerryon to score more touchdowns.
That was electric, Jeff.
You got me.
All right, Emerson.
Oh, I was doing the Frozen thing. Oh, God. Okay. We'll get your showdown picks to close the show. And Jessie sitting down with, who'd you have? Former Cowboy Tony Casillas.
Yeah.
That's great to talk about Dim Boy's 3-game losing streak.
And you talked to Scott Zolak
I love how we're talking about what
yeah,
we've
you
been
did that,
doing.
and you played in the
Dude, you're doing a great job.
You are too, man.
Like, keep it
you
up.
played pro or no, so let's take a look at that.
We do want to play a fun little game, pro or no with you. So I'm going to give you a name of a player, and you're going to tell me if it's a real NFL player or if it's just a completely made-up person.
Okay.
Jaquiski Tart.
No.
That is a real name.
That's
real 49er safety, 2015.
You ever stayed the Four Seasons?
Have I? No.
Like if
I'm
you
more
go to
like
a walk-up
a
coffee
Holiday
bar,
Inn
you
guy.
say, Dave, that's a Jaquiski Tart right there. $13.75.
Delicious,
for
like a little
mini
Danish.
fruit tart. Really don't want to pay that much, but man, it's got to taste good.
Okay. Guy Wimper. No,
that's definitely no.
Dude, that is a real former Jaguars player.
I'm so bad at this game.
This is fantastic.
If you asked me Gardner Minshew a year ago, I'd say no. Yeah, so
no, me too.
Keep going.
Okay, Pork Ryan Youngblood. Come on,
that's
man.
A no.
Good.
Nobody's gonna
all right, you're on the board. You're on the board, Scotty.
Pork Ryan. Yeah, I can see that.
Max Speedy.
That's a name.
Yes, it is. Yeah, real Browns
guy.
defensive end here in the 40s and 50s.
Correct.
Wow, look at you.
Yep, know that.
You know your history.
Okay,
Okay,
we
we
got
got
Pittsburgh, so we knew all the Browns and Cincinnati Bengals names.
Mr. Washington.
Not a name.
Good.
Yeah.
Dearest Donnelly.
Dearest Donnelly. That's a name.
No, it's fake, man.
Oh, guys.
Yeah, sure. We'll bleep it out.
Okay.
It's all good. It's not live. Wonderful, terrific Mons Jr.
That's not a name.
Dude, it's a real name.
This is like the whole he hate me with the XFL. These guys are going to be XFL players.
Yeah, he hate me.
He hate me. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a defensive back for the 49ers in 1952.
Well, you're going
Come
back.
on, man.
I mean, so
hey,
you're
listen,
going to do your
I
old-time
didn't come up with
announcer
names.
voice.
I'm joined now by two-time Super Bowl winner Tony Casillas. Tony, thank you for coming on our program.
No problem. Great to be with you today.
All right, gonna start off with a bit of a downer here. Your Cowboys losing a tough one yesterday to the Jets. I mean, I gotta ask, are you concerned about Dallas now that they've lost 3 in a row?
Well, hey, first of all, it's great to be here, as I mentioned. But I think when you look at this team, originally first started 3-0, and there's all these high expectations, and then all of a sudden you hit a skid. When you look at the game against the Saints, yeah, you figured that'd be a tough game on the road. But then you get to the performance against the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and then yesterday against the 0-4 Jets. There's a lot of people that need brass right now because a lot of fans are jumping off ship. So, yeah, certainly there's I don't know if there's panic yet, but, this next game coming up this Sunday versus the Eagles, if they lose that, kind of like what Doug Peterson has kind of sent that out there, which is kind of going viral, which is funny, which that doesn't need much fuel to the fire considering it is the Eagles. There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of unsettling things going on in Big D.
Yeah, now in regards to the Jets, they got Sam Darnold back who missed 3 games with mono, something that you actually had in college, and you missed an entire year with that. I mean, you're familiar with the recovery process. Are you impressed that Darnold was able to come back so quickly?
Hey, great research, by the way. That's been a long time. But yeah, obviously I was a freshman, so really I was more or less a non-factor. But I don't know if it's the way they dealt with something like that many moons ago. I really don't know the medical aspect of it, but I don't really have the side effects. I knew I had it, but they just kind of treated it, and it was more of a time-consuming thing. But, Sam Darnold yesterday, he came back with a vengeance. And the Cowboys defense made him look like Joe Willie Namath from back in the first time they won the Super Bowl. But you really didn't expect that. I mean, it's something you can overcome, but, he hadn't played in, 4 weeks, and yet comes out there and he's humming, throwing the ball. And the Cowboys defensive secondary, wow, they did not have any answer to what he did all game long.
Now, getting back to Dallas, reports are saying that Jason Garrett's job is safe right now, but do you think he should be in the hot seat?
I think he should. Now, here's that game yesterday. You can defend him, and then you can be an apologist for Dak. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can kind of take away from this game. You know, one thing with someone like Jason Garrett who's been here for a decade, and everything's measured around here, and for so many years, because it's been that long, since 20-something years since the Cowboys have been back to the Super Bowl, is what do you do in postseason play? And again, the expectations and just the lackluster performance and the emotional aspect of it, you know, that's hard for me to really just watch and really to stomach the lack of emotion, because it's coming off the Green Bay Packers performance and then go on the road to his 0-4 Jets team. Yes, I think for him, and I hate to say this because I like Jason. He's a great dude. He's been here 10 years, made a lot of money, but a lot's going to be it's going to be riding on this game. And for me, I said this during the regular season: if he doesn't go to the NFC Championship game this year, there's no way Jerry brings him back and extends his contract.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But speaking of Super Bowls, you've won 2 with Dallas and had 2 different stints with the franchise. I mean, I'm sure there are so many, but what were some of your favorite memories as a Cowboy?
Well, you mentioned that the Super Bowls and just the team that we were able to put together. I think whenever you look at Super Bowl teams, you look at certainly the Patriots or any team that's won it for, multiple Super Bowls. There's an art to it. There's an art of putting guys together. There's an art of having a coach collectively together. There's so many moving parts that come together. But, to this day, I think that's so funny in this market because, the relevancy of being, 25 years removed from winning a Super Bowl, people still remember the old dudes. But there's, I've had a chance. I played at a national championship at Oklahoma. I played in the Super Bowl, but nothing matches what the Super Bowl does for you on a resume. People really, they remember you. You have the hardware. You wear the rings, although I don't wear them as much as I do, but sometimes I bring them out to different functions. But right away, it kind of gives away your age. Everyone looks at someone with the Super Bowl ring like, you must be old, dude, because I don't remember the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl. It's been a long time ago.
Well, you mentioned your college days at Oklahoma. Now, we know Kyler Murray was the top pick in this year's draft. I mean, what are your impressions of him so far to start his NFL career? And I mean, there's sort of a lot of talk about it. Do you think he's Rookie of the Year material?
Well, I think you saw his performance yesterday. It was a 27 of 37, had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, threw for like 123 quarterback rating. There's always the learning curve, and there's always this growth plate that you have as a quarterback in the National Football League, not just as a quarterback, but just collectively. And I think, look, it's going to take a certain offense for him to really thrive out of, and I think he's with the right dude, with Cliff Kingsbury. And I think he'll be good, but his numbers and consistency have been pretty good. And, they got the win yesterday against the Arizona. I mean, what's going on with the Falcons? I mean, what is going on with the Atlanta Falcons? I think if he just keeps it going, again, you can't really press the issue. But when you're not turning the ball over and you're making positive plays, in which he did yesterday, 3 touchdowns, for a rookie, that's really good. And I think he's trending a lot higher now because he's not making the mistakes. And again, if he stays healthy, that's the key. I mean, there's a lot of things you can't do that you did in college and National Football League, and that's just run freely because dudes like my size or dudes 300-pounders running 4.6, that's their stake. That's what they're hunting for. So as long as he stays healthy, I think he continues the trend.
I'm going to test you with some predictions here now. Who do you think is the favorite to win the AFC?
I mean, it's crazy, but I mean, look at the Patriots. You look at that conference they're in. Essentially, it's them and them. They're 6-0. Look, I mean, they won last week and they were really bad on offense, but their defense bailed them out. And that's the thing about it, which is so ridiculously obscene, is that they're relentless. That their defense is the number 1 defense in the National Football League. They scored 2 touchdowns last week, and so I think Tom Brady could probably play until he's a grandfather. I mean, their team is just that obnoxiously good. So I think that they're good. Certainly it's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Houston Texans. I mean, there's teams in the National Football League, but I mean, we all say this every year that there's no way the Patriots can come back. Well, no way, but there's always a team that you think is going to catch them. And again, here they are at 6-0, and just they're the team to beat. And probably in the next month or so, will clinch home field advantage. Crazy.
It's like clockwork over there in Foxborough. What about over in the NFC? I mean, I know you mentioned you feel like Jason Garrett has to bring the Cowboys to the NFC Championship. I mean, do you think they're still alive and have a chance to do that?
Well, I don't know. That's a great question, because I think all of a sudden they're 3-3, and it's a huge game this weekend against the Eagles on Sunday Night Football, and so they have to clean up whatever. I mean, I hate to use the disparity, but this is a game that they really, really need to win. You can't all of a sudden start going downhill and have 4 losses in a row. And so it's a huge game for them. Certainly the Eagles are really, I mean, they're going to be there in the NFC East. You look around the NFC West, I mean, look what San Francisco was doing. You got the Seattle Seahawks, which have a tremendous quarterback that's playing in Russell Wilson. And so, those teams, you look at the New Orleans Saints are 5-1 without their Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. But I mean, right now, when you look around, it's crazy. But you look at the San Francisco 49ers; those guys are balling. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is playing well, but their defense. I'm an old defensive guy, so I'm always going to say the teams that are trending, that are balanced with good defense and a good offense. It seems like to me there's always a new flavor the next year. And that flavor this year, it looks to be the San Francisco 49ers.
Hey now, after the Houston Open in
Houston. After the Houston Open in Houston.
This week the PGA Tour begins its 3-week Asian swing at the CJ Cup in South Korea. And we've got Jeff Ulrich rolling solo to help us out. Looking at odds for the following golfers here, and many other things as well.
Yeah, a fun little segment we call for better or worse. So DK Sportsbook has some cool props for this tournament, including who will finish in a better position, Brooks or his brother Chase Koepka. So Chase finished better than Brooks 2 weekends ago in Vegas.
Yep.
Should Chase's odds to finish better than Brooks, plus 600, be better or worse?
Yeah, you guys know I like plus money bets. And
yeah,
I like
baby.
get a little wild once we get odds up this high. But this one's not for me. I know Brooks Koepka missed the cut at the Shriners, and I know Chase Koepka made it, and everyone made a big deal of that. But put it in a little context, Chase Koepka finished T67 in that event. He's never really had done anything against PGA Tour quality fields. This is very much, especially the top 40 in this field, are high-quality PGA Tour players. Brooks Koepka is the defending champion here. I'm sure he found it amusing to be beaten by his brother in one event. I'm sure he does not want to keep seeing that as a trend, nor in an event that he's the defending champion at. So even at plus 600, I'm not touching this. I don't know if I'm confident enough to bet Brooks Koepka just because it's golf and anything can happen, but not for me.
Let's see if you touch this, though. Justin Thomas, the reigning champ, is the favorite to win at plus 775. Should those odds be better or worse?
No, I think they should be pretty much exactly as they are. I mean, he's the favorite of this. He's actually got lower odds than Brooks Koepka this week. And some people might look at that and say, wow, I mean, Brooks Koepka is #1 player in the world. But Justin Thomas, over the last 2 months, basically has been the man. I mean, he came up with a massive win in the playoffs. Didn't quite get it done at the Tour Championship. But, after that, he came out. He's the one who's played in the swing season and had a good result. He was T4 at the Safeway Open, an event he's played well. And he's a former champion of this week's event, too, won the inaugural showing. So, in all reality, he's playing better golf than Brooks Koepka over the last month. And quite frankly, when you look at their records, I know Brooks has a couple more majors, but these are 2 of the best young players in the world. So it's not really that shocking to me to see Thomas as the favorite. I think he's well deserving, and I think these odds are still interesting to me because that's how good Justin Thomas is playing right now. He deserves and is very bettable at single digits like this.
Mark Leishman took this to a playoff last year. Should his odds of plus 3,000 be better or worse?
Yeah, kind of I'm interested in Mark Leishman this week, and it's kind of I could even see his odds being a little bit shorter. I know this is a quality field, but I mean Leishman is another player. He was solo third. He actually finished in front of Justin Thomas at the Safeway Open. He was second in strokes gained tee to green at that event, only to Cameron Champ, the eventual winner. I think he had a little bit of a back issue to start his fall season, but then he's come out swinging. He got 3 top 5s in his last 10 events. He lost in a playoff here to Justin Thomas in 2017. He's got a win in Asia in his career too. I mean, he's a 4-time tour winner. So I'm really interested in these odds at plus 3,000. I think they could even be a little bit shorter. Like realistically, I would much rather back Mark Leishman at plus 3,000 than Jordan Spieth at plus 2,800 right now. So, and maybe even Morikawa. So I think these odds on Leishman are pretty good. They're very interesting to me. I think they could be a little shorter this week.
Oh, baby. This is a good one here. Looking down at some of the long shots. Wee Kim finished in 4th place last year, but his odds to win this time are some of the worst. Plus 60,000.
Jeez.
Plus 60,000.
60.
Should his odds be that bad? You just said you love plus money bets.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting close to like Kevin from The Office territory. If anyone gives you 10,000 to 1, you take it. I mean, we're not that far off. But Wee Kim has had a rough year of golf. I mean, he wasn't making cuts on the PGA. He wasn't making cuts anywhere really, and for him to come out and even like sniff the top 5 of this event, I'd be pretty shocked. It is an interesting event because there's a lot of like lower level Asian Tour players in it, and it's a little bit of like a kind of a hometown event, not for all of them because they're obviously not from all Korea. Don't want people to think that, but it's still interesting. It's in their part of the world, right? So some of these players will probably pop up that you haven't heard of today, but Wee Kim is actually not one I would be taking a chance on. If you're looking for longer shot bets, you got Charlie Hoffman to go to, Brandon Grace, but no Wee Kim for me this week.
No Wee Kim.
Oh, man. I usually like talking about like the super long shot guys with you and Reed. I don't know where he is today, but hopefully he's back tomorrow. Maybe we can discuss that tomorrow because it's always an entertaining segment and back and forth.
Yeah, that was great, Emerson. Need you, though, Jeff, to hang around for some Monday Night Football Showdown picks with Mr. Jones right after Pat Mayo delivers some fantastic information about something.
Right now, as it stands, the Lions at the Packers. The Packers are 3.5-point favorites. The game total is 45.5. Do you have a lean in this game? I am going with the Packers. That was my pick on the pick show. I do think they can win this, but this opened at 6. It's down to 3.5. You would expect the Packers being such a public team that all the money is coming onto them, but it's like 50-50, and it was on the Lions a lot earlier in the week. It seemed like a lot of people really jumped at that 5.5 number. That stayed there for a bit, and then it's continuously dropped all throughout the week. That people really liking this Lions team. We haven't seen this Lions team play in a bit, so fresh in our minds. But I think this is the sort of team that the Packers can handle pretty easily, because not necessarily easily. Detroit can definitely win this game, but the Packers are so good defensively that I think it's going to be more of a stretch to think that the Lions move the ball particularly well against the Packers.
Yeah, so just from the jump, I probably lean Green Bay here, especially because of that line movement, and now I think it's actually favorable, even more of a lean. In general, for the game, I actually like the under. I have a bet in on the under right now. It came down, I think, a point from open, but last I saw, it's like you can get it at 46, some places 45.5. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this Packers secondary, they have the size at cornerback, especially with Kevin King, to match up with the size on the outside for Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. And I think the biggest piece for Detroit really is one, seeing if TJ Hawkinson expected to play, but actually does suit up there. I think they have a slight advantage there against Packers linebackers. But then the biggest piece is just Kerryon Johnson. If he's going to continue to play 3/4 of the snaps, 75%, his matchup against the Packers run defense, which when it has been targeted, has been vulnerable. Even last week, Ezekiel Elliott doesn't touch the ball a lot because they're down by so much, but he had 12 carries at 1.4, over 60 yards. So on a per touch basis, they're just getting gashed.
Well, one of the big things, too, especially as it pertains to Aaron Jones, like not having Devontae Adams is clearly going to impact the passing game for the Packers, but no Mike Daniels on the Lions offensive line, and like he is their primary run stopper. And it would have been a revenge game for him as well, but I think that really benefits Aaron Jones and the ability for the Packers to extend some of these drives and milk a lot of time on the clock. So I do think that actually helps your undertake as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a big piece of it. Mike Daniels, when he was on the Packers, paired with Kenny Clark. They were the two best run stoppers on that team. They still have Snacks Harrison for Detroit up front, but Mike Daniels is just a huge piece that they're going to miss. Doubtful for this game and a return back to Lambeau. So it does help Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams is trending towards playing. So just in general, the Packers without Devontae Adams, like their number for this game, their number 1, 2, and 3 receivers, I would argue, are probably the worst in the league, with MVS being more of a deep threat than a chain mover. Geronimo Allison, just when they're putting Geronimo Allison in the slot, he's a lengthy receiver in the slot that it just does not work out. He's been terrible in the slot at getting separation. And then Jake Kumro on the other hash played nearly 70% of the snaps last week. He's been great in the preseason, but he's just been never able to get separation against just tier 1 cornerbacks, or at least starting cornerback play instead of third stringers from the preseason. So when that's what they're working with, I think it's just coming down to a lot more scheming Aaron Jones into the passing game to have a weapon there. And then I think you probably see a little bit more Jimmy Graham this week, if indeed it is a pass friendly or a neutral game script, instead of the Packers just being up by 3 touchdowns and not having to rely on it. So like earlier I mentioned, it was some stench that they might have been covering up last week because Aaron Jones was just that good and the defense was causing short fields. But if they're in a game where they have to pass the ball and actually rely on Aaron Rodgers and those receivers, that's where it can get a little bit scary. That's why I kind of lean to the under in that situation.
Last block of the show. If you've been waiting for some Monday Night Football Showdown picks, we have Jeff and Matt here to satisfy your craving.
Yes, we do. The Lions and Packers with Aaron Rodgers as the most expensive player here, guys. 11.6 as a flex, okay? Is that too expensive at that price considering he has only one great fantasy performance this season, Matty?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit too much for me, for a lot of the reasons we already mentioned. But first of all, there's no reason why Stafford should be like $2K cheaper. Rodgers has hit the 300 bonus once and had multiple passing touchdowns in 2 of the 5 games so far. So yeah, I think that's a little pricey for me.
Jeff, thoughts on this price, dude?
No,
you're muted. You're muted. Fix it.
I'm back. Okay. It's a little expensive for me, but I mean, from the perspective of it's probably going to keep his ownership off the 70% levels is nice. So in big GPPs, I think going with like a Rodgers wide receiver stack and then fading Aaron Jones is more viable now, just because you're going to get lower ownership on Rodgers. So that's nice, but yeah, he's a little overpriced for sure.
All right, Jeff, Devontae Adams is out. Which Packers wide receiver tight end is going to pick up the slack?
Jake the Snake Kumaro. I mean, he's 2,800, 68% of the snaps last week. Just missed a touchdown last week. Him and Geronimo Allison were the only wide receivers to get red zone targets, so that's nice. But he's finally seeing the field full time. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling is probably going to be getting like the old number 1 treatment. I'm not sure if Darius Slay is playing yet, but even if he's not, line secondary has held up pretty well. So I like Kumaro in this spot. He's cheap. Aaron Rodgers is expensive, so you want to save money, go to Kumaro. He's playing.
Matt, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I think Kumaro is a good call. I do like MVS a little bit this week. He's seeing 11% of the Packers' opportunities, which is about the same as guys like top 5 wide receiver Stephon Diggs and Brandon Cooks. So he's getting the workload. It's just, he hasn't done a ton the last couple of weeks, but a touchdown or 2 out of him would not shock me at all.
Okay, we do know Jamal Williams is active for tonight. Who else did Steph just in this? And TJ Hawkinson also active for tonight, in case anyone was wondering. Kerryon Johnson, though, could be in a good spot, though, when he goes against this defense. Packers defense, giving up 6 touchdowns to running backs in the last 4 games. And you playing Johnson, Matthew, here for 8,600?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the, what I think the game, how the game is going to run, I think that you really can't avoid carry on this tonight. We think it's going to be slow. We think they're going to try to run. Even if they do, even if Detroit does find a way to fall behind, he's not really affected by game script. He's seen the 3rd highest percentage of team opportunities among running backs. So, yeah, I think I'm going to figure out a way to get Kerryon in my lineups tonight.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, absolutely on the Kerryon trade. I mentioned before, I like his chances over Aaron Jones to find the end zone multiple times today, and it's for good reason. I mean, it comes down to matchup, really. I mean, the Packers' run defense still not that great, still averaging over 5 yards per carry. Opposing running backs are averaging over 5 yards per carry against them. Matt alluded to just the usage since CJ Anderson is gone. I mean, they're still mixing in Ty Johnson, and it's not like the perfect scenario. It's not like he's Leonard Fournette or Christian McCaffrey, but it's good enough. And especially at this price, yeah, I absolutely like him. I like targeting him over the Detroit pass game for sure tonight too.
Jeff, very important here. Who are you putting in the captain spot?
Well, I mean, basically the guy I just talked about. It's going to be Kerryon Johnson. So, again, with Aaron Rodgers being expensive, I think Aaron Rodgers makes for an interesting contrarian captain tonight because I just feel like most people won't be going up that high. But Kerryon Johnson for me is the whole deal. You get the savings, you get the better usage, and you get the good matchup. And I think a lot of people will still be leaning towards Aaron Jones over him anyways because the Packers are favorites in this, and we have like the biggest positive sentiment game ever that Aaron Jones is coming off of, right? So I like Kerryon Johnson. Like I said, if you want to get contrarian, Rodgers to me is interesting, but give me Kerryon as a captain tonight.
Matt, who are you looking at as your captain?
Yeah, me and Jeff are just muy simpatico tonight. Kerryon Johnson just makes the most sense if you think that this game goes the way that we think it's going to go. If you think that Green Bay is just superior and they're being underrated in this spot, I do think you could just pick one of the pass catchers and hope for a couple of touchdowns. But I'm definitely in like cash and single entry. I'm definitely going with Kerryon.
All righty. Who are you looking at to save money? Need a value play, Matt.
I mean, if we're talking real low, I don't hate throwing Danny Vitale in the flex here. $200, like he's had a couple of he's had 5 targets over the past few weeks, and obviously, you know, he's not going to break the slate, but he allows you to do pretty much whatever else you want. He's not going to give you a complete zero. He's had at least 1.9 fantasy points in each of the last 3 weeks. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Jeff, you have a great value similar to Matthews?
I mean, it's a little bit similar. I mean, well, it's not really that similar. But, I mean, Mercedes Lewis, Robert Tonyan is out tonight for the Packers. So it's just going to mean Mercedes Lewis, who's already seeing some field, but he could just see an extra target or two. And really all you're looking for out of Mercedes Lewis is a red zone target. I could see it happening. I mean, Jimmy Graham has not been very efficient this year. They might just design up like a red zone play for Mercedes Lewis, who, like I said, is going to be playing a few extra snaps tonight with Tonyan out. So, yeah, Mercedes Lewis has like the deep value. I like Kumaro. That's nice and cheap, but, you know, you need like a guy under 1K. Yeah, I think Mercedes Lewis is in play.
Jeff, any chance you'd want to play a DST or kicker in this game?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel like most people are just going to run to the Packers defense because they've been very good this year. And you know, again, you never really love starting defenses against Aaron Rodgers, but Detroit's been pretty solid too. I mean, they're close to Green Bay in terms of like a DVOA as a defense right now. They have improved their D line, so there's definitely some sack potential. Darius Slay is active tonight. That's actually a big thing pushing me a little bit towards a Detroit DST, just as a contrarian play. It's not a play you need to get in if you're like making a cash lineup and going all in on that. But for a contrarian stack, yeah, especially if you're thinking about Kerryon Johnson, pairing him with the Detroit D, yeah, I actually like. I don't mind the Green Bay defense either, but I think they're going to be chalkier. But bringing Kerryon in the Detroit Lions DST is definitely a play I'm interested in.
What's your take on this, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of these primetime games just be borderline unwatchable. So if you're building a ton of lineups, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with putting one of the kickers in either. If we think it's going to be slow, you could go, you know, Green Bay defense if you think they're going to stop them, and then throw Prater in your one of your other flex spots and get like a decent correlation there. I wouldn't go crazy with both of either in a single lineup, but I could see going one of, you know, on either side with the kickers.
You know, Matt Prater went to UCF.
We get it. You went to UCF.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We had a couple classes together. Anywho, is there an expensive player you'd fade, Matt? Anyone on here? Do you have the salaries pulled up?
Yeah. I mean, if it goes the way I think it's going to go, then I think there's a strong case to be made for just completely fading Rodgers. I know that's not always optimal in Showdown, but if you're going to be bold and you're going to say Danny Vitale, you might as well also fade Aaron Rodgers. I'm really really going data driven right now.
Jeff, what about you, bud?
Yeah, we're all about the data on this show, as you can probably tell. Look, I know Aaron Jones is going to get usage, but I mean, the Lions haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher all year, and I mean, again, you just think this is narrative. This has nothing to do with data, but what does a team do? See a guy score 4 touchdowns the next week, the next team they face probably going to key on that guy a little bit. Matt Patricia, coming from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, stop the team's #1 weapon. Right now, that's Aaron Jones. So I think Aaron Jones is an interesting fade candidate. And then, like I said, targeting Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay pass catchers in big GPPs especially. So, yeah, I like that move.
Did you know Aaron Jones and Aaron Rodgers share the same birthday?
I thought you were going to say they went to UCF for a second.
Oh, my
Emerson.
God.
No,
I
would have been wrong.
They have the same first name. We were like, thanks, Emerson.
No, December 2nd, it's coming up. Just a heads up.
Okay. All right, we won't forget to wish them a happy birthday. Yeah, that's it for the show. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.